Hi crafters, welcome back and thanks for joining me. This is Jana with Purple Girl Crafts. Today we're going to be making this cute little treat box. Now this treat box requires no die cuts. I just used a circle cutter. If you had die cuts, you could definitely use them. You'll need two different sizes when you do your top and your bottom box. And you can see this holds quite a bit of candy. This is just some jawbreakers that I put in there. And this would be a fun container for Halloween party or office cute little gifts if you want to give some gifts to your coworkers, whatever you choose. So let's just get started. So I grabbed my scoreboard and our first piece, these are again all strips of paper, and these are going to be cut. The first one is 2¼ by 11. All of these will be at 11 inches long. Next piece will be cut at 1 7/8 by 11. Next piece will be cut at 1 1/4 by 11. And then the last piece is 7/8 of an inch by 11. Then we will need our circles. And you've got two different sizes. So you'll need one at 3 inches, and that will be for the top. And then you'll need for the bottom, it's 2 7/8, and you'll need two of each. Then I also did a 3-inch for the eyeball on the top, and that's just going to be folded, and that's just going to be for the eyelid. Then I did one that is 2 3/4, and that is for the top, and then inserts for the inside of the box. And then you just need that eyeball, and that is just 1 inch in diameter. Now for the strips, we're going to score 2 of those. So you want to do the one that's at 1 1/4, and you're just going to score it down 1/4 of an inch all the way down. And then the bigger purple one, you're going to score that at 1/4 inch. And again, from top to bottom, all the way down. All right, so we are done with our scoreboard, so let's move that out of the way. And we're going to work on these two pieces. So I already prepared one of them. I'm going to show you on the second one. This is the smaller one. So you want to just take your bone folder and just curve this paper. Then you want to fold that score line down. Just work it so you fold it and then crease that out. And then you're going to cut little slashes in this. And you want to do them at a little bit of a diagonal. And the closer you get them, not too tiny, the easier it'll be to fold it. So I'm just going to quickly do this. And again, I'm just cutting up to that score line. And these are probably about, I'm going to say probably about 1/8 of an inch apart. All right, now for the circles, we have the two larger ones and then the two smaller ones. So the two that are the 3 inches, those will be used on that smaller band. So I'm just going to put top on here just so that I know that I've marked it. And then we'll do the other top piece. And then for the two pieces that are 2 7/8, those will be at the bottom. I don't know why I have 3, but I'll just move one out of the way. And we'll just put a V on those for the bottom. All right, now for this piece, what you're going to do is you can either start it 2 ways. You can start it with your glue on the circle, or you can do the glue on the strips that you cut. I'm going to do the first one on the circle. So I'm just going to put glue on the edge. It doesn't matter what side if you're just using regular cardstock. So I'm just going to put just a little bit. Then I'm going to flip it over. Now I'm not going to start at the very end of that strip. You want to leave just a little bit because we'll come back and do that. It'll just be easier and it'll fold easier if you don't do that piece at first. So as this starts to work itself in, I'm just going to push that circle up against that edge of that fold and then use my bone folder and just push out that glue. And you just want to work in small sections and just keep going all the way around. Smaller sections you work in, the better you can make sure that it is folded and tight against that little ledge. So again, just putting glue at the bottom, making sure it's attached, and then just turn it over using my bone folder just to push out that glue. When I do this, I'm going to make sure that you don't get any cut underneath because it will put a bulk into your the side of your container. So again, just work in slow sections. It's going to fight you a little bit, but if you just work slow and just do a little bit of glue, you can slowly make it curve around and fit perfectly. So right there, I got just a little piece underneath, so I want to make sure that's lifted back up because you can see it starts to get bulky. And then just turn it. And then again, just push it down with the glue. And then just use my bone folder again just to make sure it's tight in there. And then I'll just continue all the way. Now, as you get towards the end, this is now the time where you can glue that other side down because you've worked enough of it so that it should stay fine and it'll keep that curvature going. You see you get a really nice curve on here. Again, if you get any down, make sure you pull them up and then just continue gluing this all the way around. Now this piece is a little bit too big, so I'm just going to cut off just a little bit. Just kind of marked it with a pencil where I want it. It's about an inch and a quarter that I took off. You just want to make sure that it fits all the way, and you do have some overlap so you can glue it. Now I'm going to continue putting glue on this. This time I'm going to go all the way to the edge. Just going to line that up, kind of push that glue in from this side, and then I'll turn it over and secure it all the way down. And I'm holding it at both ends just to make sure it doesn't pop out. Right, once you have that down, you want to make sure that bottom piece is glued all the way. I've got just that one little extra flap I need to glue down. And then what you want to do is once you have that glue secure, we're going to secure those two ends together. And you want to make sure this is straight, so don't force it and make it too tight. Just let it fall naturally in place and it should line up perfectly and be straight. So I'm just putting just a little bit of glue on there and then just closing that back up. Now I'm going to grab a little clip just to hold it in place while it's drying. So I'll let that sit and then we're going to work on the second side. So now this one, I'm going to do it a different way this time. So this time I'm going to put glue on the strip and then just slowly work this around. So you can do it either way, whichever way is easier for you. This way is easier for me because I'm putting the glue just on one side. And I have to keep flipping it over and back and then just making sure that I've got that tightly up against that fold and then just creasing out that glue. And then again, just seal that one side once you get about halfway around. And then cut off your little bit of extra. And then just continue with the glue until you have it all the way down and secure. And we are going to put pieces on the top and bottom, so you're not going to see all those little marks, so don't worry about that part. We're going to hide all of that in a bit. All right, so that piece is done. So I'm just going to put that clip on there and let that one dry. And we're going to work on this piece again next, the bigger side. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to do that green strip. And this is just to add some color. And you could use colored paper in here or whatever you wanted. We're going to line this up with the edge and then we're going to glue this down. Now again, this piece is going to be too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an extra piece of paper. You see this is just a scrap piece of paper that I had. I'm going to roll this up. It doesn't matter if it's too tall because it's just going to be a holder in there to keep the shape of your cylinder. So I just put that in there just to make that edge just a little bit firmer so that when I'm gluing this down, it stays more of a circle. So once I have that in there, and again, that's just sitting there because we're going to take it out later. I'm going to glue this green piece. I'm going to start at the seam and glue it all the way around. And like I said, this is just a little bit too long because I just used strips of paper. I didn't cut them down to the length. We're probably going to cut off just a little bit on here. So I'm just going to mark this one. This time I'm going to grab my trimmer just so I can see how much I'm cutting off on here. We're going to cut about 1.25 inches off. And I'm going to do the second one just so that they're both done. And when you glue this down, you want to make sure that you've got this lined up and that you've got an even border all the way around. So I'm just going to put some glue just to start it on one end. And I'm going to line that paper up so it's right at that edge where my seam is. I'm just going to hold that just for a second so it starts to grab. Whoops. then I'll just continue gluing this all the way around. Again, you want to make sure that you have this straight so that you don't have a wonky piece on here. Just trying to keep either your bottom seam or your top seam even as you go around. And I'll just put some more glue in here, put a little bit on the end because that will be the piece that we seal to the other side. And again, I'm just going to lay this down, slowly just roll this onto this paper. And I'm just going to squeeze that end. That piece is done. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it, I've got my glue made some lines in it. I didn't like that. So on the next one, I'm going to use my other glue. So for the top piece, I'm going to use my quick dry glue instead, but we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to glue this down to start it at the seam. I'm going to use my clip there just to hold that one. This one's a little bit easier to glue because it's smaller, so you can hold it in your hands much easier. And then just make sure that goes all the way around and fits, which it does. And then put glue on that green strip. And just secure it as you go. This one I didn't put the extra paper in it because this is so much easier to handle and you can keep the pressure all the way around. And then just put just a little bit more glue on that end, secure it, and then just get rid of any extra glue that you've got. All right, so while that dries, we're going to glue those center pieces or the insides in. So I do have two pieces. I have a 2 7/8 and a 3-inch. They will fit inside each one. You're going to put the 2 7/8 inch on the bottom. And I'm going to make sure the words are facing from where the seam is, so that'll be in the back. And then just lay that in there. Again, just using my bone folder just to push that down. And then on the top one, we'll do the same thing. This one, you want to make sure that you've got it going the right direction, so the seam will be in the back. So you want the words to go the opposites. You want them to be facing you. And then more glue and secure that piece down. Then on the top and the bottom of the boxes, we're going to glue those 2 extra pieces, and that's going to hide that seam. So we're just going to put glue all around the outside of this one piece. And then I'm just going to lay that on there, making sure I've got it even all the way around. And then once I do, again, I'm just going to use my bone folder. You could use a marker with, an end. You could use a ruler, anything just to help to push that down. And then remove any extra glue that you've got. Perfect. All right, so that is for the bottom of the box. Then for the top, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to glue that extra top piece on. I'm going to make sure that it is lined up and exactly where it needs to be. And then once I've got it where I like it, flip it over. And again, just push that on. And so then you've got your top and your bottom box. As you can see, you see the little rivets in my container, and I just don't like that. So make sure when you use your glue, you're using a glue that won't show through. All right, then for the eyeball, we're just going to do that white piece, and that's the one that's 2 3/4. And these pieces, because I cut 3 of them out, I'm just going to fold those in half. And I was thinking about layering these so I get a thicker eyelid on the top. But after looking at it, I think I'm just going to do one because this looks like it's pretty good. So we're going to put down this white piece first. And again, this will just be the eyeball. So I'm just going to put that right in the center. And then I'm just going to curve this again with that bone folder and put that in just like that. I kind of like the way that looks. So I think I'm just going to use the one piece on this. And I'm going to secure it down with pop dots. I'm just going to see just one more time. Yeah, I like more of a curve to it. So I really curved this one instead. And that eyeball is just sitting there just so I can make sure that it looks good. So I'm going to open this piece up. If I can get it open. And I'm going to glue this closed. And this will sit right there on the top. And I'm just going to use pop dots just to secure it. So I'll grab just regular pop dots. We're going to put one right on the very top and then two on the sides. And again, I'm just curving this out just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to take off those pop dots, the tops of them. And this is going to go on the top. Again, just secure it to those pop dots so to make sure it's in the center. And then just kind of push them onto those little pop dots. And then the eyeball is going to go right here in the center. But before I do that, I want to see if it will look good with some red lines, like, tired eyes, which I think it does look good. So I just did a sample one just really quick. So I'm going to secure down this eyeball. I'll grab my tweezers just to make it a little bit easier. And so I make sure it's right in the center and right underneath the eyeball. I know it looks a little far from where you're seeing it, but it's not in as far as it looks. All right, so I'm going to just use this to help stand it up. No, maybe that won't work. All right, that'll work. All right, so I'm going to draw some of those red little lines on here. And this is just random lines. I'm not really decided where they're going to go. I think that'll be enough. We'll just leave it like that. Then I've got this Happy Halloween sign now. This is just in black and white. I did put just a red and purple, or red, orange and purple string on it. I'm going to tuck that up underneath there. And then we're just going to glue that down. So I'm just going to lift this up just a little bit just so I can get some glue under there. And then I'll put that sign right under there. Just like that. And that is it. That is the cute little treat box that we made. This treat box is really fun to make. So I hope you will craft along with me. And until next time, happy crafting, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.